Hi, welcome to Video Game Heuristics in Action by Sal San Marco. My assignment for IT302 Human-Computer Interaction. What are heuristics? Let's start there. So I guess the best way to go about this is ask somebody who knows everything.
A heuristic evaluation is a usability method for finding problems in a user's interface, thereby allowing them to be solved and addressed. It involved using a small set of evaluators who examine and assess the interface for compliance with recognized principles or guidelines or heuristics.
Just like a teenager to know everything. Heuristics are basically a set of guidelines created by experts in the field of a certain area. Now, a good thing to remember about heuristics is that they are determined based on the list of rules you use. In this case today, we'll be talking about video game heuristics, to where there's several guiding principles, all involving what a player does and how a player can interact with that video game for the most part. So today, for that demo, we'll be talking about a game that I play all the time called EVE Online, which is an MMO. It is basically an MMO set in space where you play a pilot that is basically cybernetically connected to the ship. There's 4 factions, which don't make much of a difference in the real gameplay. But let's talk about the heuristics itself. So once you set up an account, you'll meet Aura. Aura is basically the help program built into EVE Online to help you determine how to act and how to react in the game. This follows one of the principles of heuristics. Have help menus, instructionals, and tutorials to help you solve gameplay. Now, one of the guiding principles of any game is the escape key. The escape key will get you into changing audio settings, key commands, shortcuts, video settings, stuff like that, which affect gameplay, the level of the music that's involved, the noise, there's different sounds, the color, whether you're window frame mode or full screen mode, such audio settings. Again, another heuristic guideline for allowing a player to control those settings. Now back to Aura. Aura, she is going to get us through the first basic commands. You notice that the interface is blank, and that's been made intentional by the EVE Online staff. They basically walk you through each aspect of this. Another heuristic is what you could view. And now Aura's taking you through the ability to zoom in, zoom out, left, right, and what you could view. Viewability within the game. Next, the first step, movement. You'll notice that the little pop-ups in the middle of the screen saying that you're going to warp. And then she'll have little pop-ups saying, hey, this is what this info panel means. Introducing you to your location and how to determine where you are in space. Because as you can see, the visuals in EVE are beautiful. After 1,000 different systems, it's hard to determine where you are without the upper right hand corner. Now you'll notice that warp drive active thing. That's very important. I want you to take note of that. That's one of the first things it teaches you, to know when you're in warp, because in warp you cannot do anything except travel, which becomes important later on. Now, as we warp, we're getting to our destination. We'll begin to slow down. You'll see the distance to warp there in the lower part under warp drive active. And then you will see a space station come up with wreckage there. Now, after Aura basically tells you, oh, we're too late, sorry, I guess they weren't meant to live, you get introduced to another part of the interface. Another very important part of the interface, which is how to move on the screen, which she's showing now, and then how to approach things that you can click on. That is the first way to learn how to move. You right click on an object and you can approach it. But that is not the only way. And momentarily here she'll show the next part, which is basically the overview. And you'll notice that in her instructional she also shows the shortcut key. I personally don't use the shortcuts. I find the mouse is just as effective. And this is why. The overview. The overview basically lists everything in space. The overview is completely customizable, which I'll show you in a little bit. But you can see in red, bright red, is the enemy. Another very important aspect of heuristics is knowing a user knowing of the information that provided to them, and what's the status of the information provided in the game. So here she's going over your ship, how to activate your weapons, how to recognize an enemy. Now these are very important. So that's the basics of Aura. Another thing she teaches you is how to get back to the tutorials. Let's say you step away for a while. You can't play the game for 6 months. You come back and you want to get back into it. You can get back to the tutorials, which she shows you how to do. Game content and how to play game content is important, and learning how to play game and revisiting that as necessary is important. Another heuristic. And of course the bank. I just showed you that because it's good that you made 15K killing that one enemy. Now let's go down the line. 10 years from now, you're still playing the game. Your ship has got a little bigger, but then again, the information on the overview and how to operate it is exactly the same. The enemies attack in the same way. You target the enemies, how the screen reacts, and how you do things exactly the same way. These are, again, heuristics involving how a computer-controlled unit reacts and acts teach you. How you have unobstructed views of the area, even though you're in a different area. How the game reacts to your playing of it. How the inputs are customizable based on what you have. The visuals are easy to interpret. You know exactly what the enemy is. You know exactly how much his shields are. You know exactly what you have running, whether you have a weapon on or not on, which are all very important. What's a wreck in the overview? What's not a wreck? So first I'm going to continue finishing killing this bad guy. You'll notice the damage. Green for showing for me that I'm damaging him. If he was damaging me, it would show in red. Again, easily to interpret information. A heuristic. We're going to abandon the loop because actually I basically jumped into this combat. It wasn't my combat. I felt like a pirate basically. Which I could be in Eve, but that's a different story. So now, I'm letting a friend know that we're coming over because I want to show you how the overview is customizable to make those visuals much easier to see. First of all, you notice the chat box. You notice the little icons on the face. Joka is one of my alliance mates, which is sort of like Eve equivalent of a guild. You notice he's in purple. I'm letting him know not to say anything bad because I'm recording this for school and no one have to re-record it. So you'll notice warp drive active. 10 years down the line, more experience, bigger ship, exactly the same representation for that. I did something, I got exactly the same response from the game. Heuristic. Now you notice in my overview, you'll see somebody's name in purple. That is, as he waves hi to us, you'll notice that he is in purple, letting me know, as I set him up, that he is a fleet member, a member of my fleet. Green and blue represent that he's an alliance member and that he's a friend. Again, a customizable interface that allows us to do this is part of the heuristics of a four-gaming environment. You notice I'm right-clicking, location. That is adaptable, an adaptable interface, allowing me to save locations as I gain more experience in the game, so I can get to where I want to go. And another method of interfacing, as you see the little clock thing that I never, again, I know something I don't ever use, but you could use it if you like, if you ever play the game. You notice in the overview, the squares are still the stations. We're approaching a station. It gets closer, it adjusts to let us know it's closer. From the beginning of the first tutorial, we saw that a station was in a square. Again, hasn't changed no matter where we are. EVE is a very large universe, several thousand systems long you could play in. You play at the same time with a bunch of other players. On average, there's about 30,000 players, if not more, in the game that you could interact with. Now, something that does bug me, we're going to go over this real quick, because one of the things I do find a flaw with this game is creating a character. There's a reason for that. If you notice in the chat window there, you'll notice all you see is little faces. You'll see my little face, Gilly's Crescent, and then you'll see my friend's little face. I'm going to leave my ship down, and this way you can see what you see when you leave your ship. Just a capsule. This game has no full body thing. Basically, most of your time is spent in a ship in space. Now, when it comes to creating a character, though, it becomes a little different. First, you pick one of the four affiliations or factions you want to be part of. Understand, out of the different, within each different faction, there's 3 different groups of people you can play with. Has absolutely no effect on the game. More, which doesn't have an effect on the game, is the level of detail you could put into creating a character. Now, heuristics say you want to be customizable for the user. And with an MMO, it's often important that you have a customizable interface. However, EVE goes a little crazy with that. It is, on average, if you skip a bunch of steps, 7 minutes long to create a character. You'll see as I sped up time here that you could create a character based on full body appearance. You could mess up his complexion. You could put bags under his eyes. You could adjust the lighting that his image is taken from. Beyond just the hair color and everything. But you could do full body interactions with him. The full body where you can control what boots he's wearing. You can control the underclothes that you never see under the regular clothes that the person is wearing. Not that this has anything to do with gameplay, but it'll let you do it. A lot of waste of time doing that. That's one of the things I do find wrong with EVE Online. So let's go over that a brief moment of what we went over today. Heuristics in EVE Online. How you can customize the vid and audio selections based on your gameplay. In most cases, the escape key. Provide predictable and reasonable behavior for computer-controlled units. All the enemies act exactly the same. If it's red, it's going to attack you. It's going to abide by the ship flowing and transport methods in place in physics, and you'll be able to control that. Provide customizable inputs and outputs. As you saw, I can customize my overview to allow me to see my friends better. That's very common in most of these games. Provide user information on game status. You saw where we saw the enemy's shields and armor going down in red. You saw when we were in warp, from beginning to end, from the first screenshot to a 10-year-old character, exactly the same. And you saw how it provided instructions and training and help and a way to get back to that when you wanted to. These are all heuristics, and these are all that's very important for game interface design. And heuristics are very important for interface design in general. Just remember, there's more than one list of heuristics, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. In this case, we talked about game heuristics. I hope you learned something. Hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed the ever increasing customer characterization. Have a good day.